Harvard is in a hot mess thanks to its president. Yet for all the damage she's doing, the school's still sticking with her. Has a toxic ideology infected American universities? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Harvard, once one of the most prestigious universities in the world, is at the center of a firestorm of controversy. Some of these controversies include Harvard's use of affirmative action and accusations of discrimination against whites and Asians, as well as reports of rampant anti-Semitism. And earlier this month, Harvard's first female black president, Claudine Gay, fanned the flames even more with her really bad take on calls for genocide.
And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment, yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals.
Rule of thumb, if anyone asks if calling for genocide is a form of bullying or harassment, just say yes. That was just the beginning, though. Gay drew even more criticism after accusations of plagiarism came to light. Multiple accusations of plagiarism. Here you can see, side by side, how Gay would copy entire ideas without quotation marks or citations. She'd either switch a word here and there, or not even bother with that at all. She even copied, nearly verbatim, another paper's methodology, which is just weird. Not really something we'd expect from the leader of a prestigious academic university like Harvard. Especially considering Harvard's own plagiarism guidelines, which state that if you copy language word for word from another source and use that language in your paper, you are plagiarizing verbatim. You must give credit to the author of the source material, either by placing the source material in quotation marks and providing a clear citation, or by paraphrasing the source material and providing a clear citation. Had a normal Harvard student nobody done the same thing Gay did, it would very likely end with severe consequences. And yet, despite calls for Gay to resign over her genocide comments and plagiarism, Harvard has rallied to her aid. And there's a reason. I'll tell you what right after the break. Welcome back. Harvard University President Claudine Gay has come under fire for not condemning calls for genocide and acts of plagiarism. Yet the university is standing by her. The governing board for Harvard University, Harvard Corporation, put out a statement reaffirming their support for Gay's leadership, saying that Gay is the right leader for Harvard. She just had a few missteps, according to the statement. The university became aware of plagiarism allegations way back in October, long before the accusations hit the general news cycle. At Gay's request, they launched an investigation and found a few instances of inadequate citation in early December. Okay, so they just admitted she plagiarized, right? Case closed. Well, no, the statement went on to say that the Harvard Corporation found no violation of Harvard's standards for research misconduct, adding that Gay requested corrections to insert citations and quotation marks. Oh, how noble of her. She asked for corrections after she was caught. That'd be like a thief requesting the jewels they stole be returned after they were arrested. Well, I guess you're free to go now. Just a silly mistake. So why did Harvard only mention Gay's plagiarism allegations after Gay faced calls for resignation? Well, apparently, according to the New York Post, Harvard and the law firm Clare Locke worked together to keep it from ever coming to light. The law firm even threatened to sue the Post for immense damages back when it was looking into the story. Because of all this, Congress has widened its investigation into Harvard to include plagiarism allegations against Gay. So with all this controversy, why is the Harvard Corporation standing behind Gay? Well, there are a lot of shady forces at play here, doing all they can to keep Gay in power. To give you a bit of background on her, Gay spent much of her life in academics, studying how the election of minority office holders affect minorities, how minority groups cooperate, and how housing mobility programs affect the poor. She received her PhD at Harvard in 1998, earned tenure at Stanford University, then returned to Harvard and went from professor on government and African American studies to Dean of Social Sciences, and then Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences before becoming president. It's what's generally known as a meteoric rise. With how prestigious those positions are, there are some concerns that Gay was hired without the proper vetting or experience. Specifically the vetting of seeing how they answer when asked, "Do you think calls for genocide is a form of harassment?" According to the Wall Street Journal, many of Gay's predecessors held significant positions like U.S. Treasury Secretary and Tufts University President before taking the helm. And according to a professor of government and African American studies and Gay supporter, and by Gay supporter I mean supporter of Claudine Gay as president, not Gay supporter the way corporations are from June 1st to 30th, it's a risky choice to elevate somebody who has not had years and years of experience in a presidential or presidential-like role. And yet, out of more than 600 nominations, she was chosen. We don't know why she was chosen, but she certainly has a lot of support from some pretty powerful players. Among them is Penny Pritzker, the chair of the Presidential Search Committee and former Secretary of Commerce under the Obama administration. After Gay was chosen as Harvard University president, Pritzker praised her as a remarkable leader who is profoundly devoted to sustaining and enhancing Harvard's academic excellence. And boy, has that endorsement aged like guacamole left in a pizza oven. The previous president of the university himself said Gay would serve Harvard well with bedrock integrity and a strong moral compass necessary to lead this great university. Under Claudine Gay's leadership, Harvard's future is very bright. This would be the last time Gay would be described with a sentence containing the expression, very bright. Henry Louis Gates Jr., a progressive bigwig in academic circles, said, "Claudine has proven herself a first-class academic leader as well as a rigorous scholar in her own right. And under her leadership, Harvard will continue to be a model in upholding the highest standards of academic excellence, advancing the frontiers of knowledge while also advancing strategies of inclusion." That endorsement hasn't aged too well either. Further, according to Jewish Insider, Gay has managed to keep her position thanks to Harvard graduate and former U.S. President Barack Obama himself. A source familiar with the situation told Jewish Insider, "It sounded like people were being asked to close ranks to keep the broader administration stable, including its composition." Now, there's pressure not just on Gay, but for the entire Harvard board to resign, including Pritzker herself. So what did the board see in Gay? I'll tell you right after this final commercial break. Welcome back. Harvard University President Gay is facing calls to resign, but she has a lot of support from both inside and outside the academic community, even though she's only been president since July. The question is, what made her stand out from the other 600 applicants for the job? Well, several faculty members speaking with the Wall Street Journal said Gay was elected because she knew the school intimately and had run one of its largest parts and was young enough to stay in the position for a long time. To be fair, considering how old our choices for U.S. president have been recently, young is practically the only selling point I need to say, let's give him a shot. But let's not beat around the bush. It's also possible that Gay, being a black woman with all those credentials, helped. Her election was heralded as a victory for diversity and excellence. And now, well, I guess it is pretty diverse to have a genocide downplaying plagiarist as president. Representation matters. Everyone's very well aware that Gay's appointment as the first black female president of Harvard puts the university in a bit of a bind. Also, technically, she's their first gay president. According to a research professor at Harvard School of Public Health, she's become a symbol of a movement, and if she has to resign, that sends a terrible signal. So it's just a no-win situation here. Wow, she's a symbol of a movement and president of the university at the same time? Man, I hope they pay her well. That sounds like a lot of work. Seriously though, progressives working in elite liberal institutions like Harvard have brought the situation upon themselves. They're obsessed with making gender and racial identity matter for job positions. And if you're someone who champions representation, this should haunt you. After all, what good does appointing a black woman do if that person does a completely lousy job? That certainly doesn't help your case for more black woman representation. The controversies surrounding Gay are now a symptom of how progressivism has poisoned higher education. Progressivism has encouraged a culture that focuses more on catering to students' feelings and promoting liberal ideologies than on actual teaching. This in turn has encouraged cancel culture and safe spaces where grown adult students are given coloring books and puppies to deal with Trump's election. Those safe spaces don't extend to Jews, by the way. I guess if you're a Jewish student at Harvard looking for a safe space, it'll have to be in an attic. This is all because universities use the Marxist framework of oppressors versus oppressed to divide people into two distinct categories, those who are privileged and those who aren't. This, in turn, has encouraged a culture that justifies anything, even rape, against those perceived as oppressor, like what Harvard students did when they blamed Jews and Israel for Hamas's October 7th attack. It also encourages people to step back from denouncing something that's obviously morally reprehensible. Progressivism has also encouraged people to believe that anyone who claims a historically marginalized identity doesn't need individual accountability. This could also explain how Gay, as a black woman president, could get away with plagiarism charges that would have guaranteed punishment for a white male student. After all, why hold her or any person of her race to certain standards if doing so would risk making Harvard less racially diverse? It'd look pretty bad if under a year after taking the position, Harvard fired their first black, female, technically gay president. And anyway, you want to hold her up to academic standards? You're racist. You don't have to be right-wing to believe this type of thinking is a problem. Even left-leaning Democrats are concerned that higher education is waging a war on truth because of how far progressivism has gone. And the stakes are high. If American universities are pushing a Marxist ideological agenda, the students who come out of them and enter the workforce will carry that ideology with them, even to the highest levels of government. It's what socialist student activist Rudy Duchka called the long march through the institutions. Liberal schools like Harvard also tend to look down on religion. Karl Marx said religion was the opium of the masses, and when was he ever wrong about anything? Of course, you can't talk about that in American universities, or on YouTube for that matter, which is why I'm discussing controversial topics and hiding them in gaming content on my new show, Deep Thoughts While Gaming. Check out the latest. Atheism got it wrong, according to Okami. And please support America Uncovered on Patreon by clicking on the orange button. I can promise you that we won't fund Harvard, just more awesome episodes. Your direct support is the main reason why we can fund this show and pay all the people who do the research, write, and edit videos, including our on-staff academic. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.